Good evening, and if you're just tuning in live, you are listening to UFO Paranormal on United Public Radio Network on 105.3 Mississippi and 107.7 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And this is the Angel Rock. Hang tight, guys. As you guys know, I can't do this till after we go live, but we're going to get us reset on TikTok. It'll take me 2 seconds here. But you're going to hear the little dingy. So hang tight, guys. We're almost there. Then I got to add it, but I can talk to you once I get on the right page here. Okay, do we add you? Okay, please go. Okay, good. We're on there, guys. So give me a sec. Now I can go live on Instagram too. Everywhere. You're going to find out why I have to go all over the place to go live. Now we got to add it because nothing wants to play nice tonight. We've been having all kinds of trouble, as you guys know, with Facebook. So anyways, I am your host, Lorilei Potvin. I am a Canadian psychic medium. I'm also a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor, also a registered nurse. Oh, hang on here, guys. Looks like Twitch doesn't want to play nice tonight. Give me a sec before I finish that. We're going to do edit. Sorry, guys. It's not usually Twitch not playing nice, but Twitch is not playing nice tonight. I don't know why. We're going to add it again as I'm talking to you. Sorry, but we want as many people possible as we can to watch a show and hear us so that you guys can join us. As I said, Crystal Reiki, energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner. I'm a spiritual teacher and mentor. Also, like I said, probably said all this, but registered nurse. I am also an animal communicator, well-versed in near-death experiences, having studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years. I've also had one as a toddler myself, and I'm extremely well-versed in the paranormal, as is our guest, who is a fan favorite. I'm going to introduce her in just a sec. I always say I didn't go looking for the paranormal, it found me. And we shared our story in the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor Season 4, Episode 9. I also have a second show on the network. Sometimes I forget to tell you guys about that. So it's The Thing at the Foot of the Bed with my good friend and Angel channel. We'll have to fix it. Oh, we got 2 places. Nobody wants to play nice tonight, you guys. We'll have to fix this after we get talking. Anyways, I always say, I'll repeat that I never went looking for it. It found us. We are on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor Season 4, Episode 9, called Demonic Hauntings. So if you guys like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends and family about it. There isn't just UFO-y and paranormally type things on this network. We have something for everybody. I think we're almost up to 40 hosts on the network. Live. So we stream multiple shows daily live. And when we're not streaming live, the archive server kicks in and picks randomly shows from the network for over the last 25 plus years that the network has been around. So we are streaming 24 hours a day live, believe it or not. Also, what else do I want to tell you? I've got a checkoff list here. It's been a crazy day. It's Christmas time, guys, so hang in there. If you guys want to watch us on TV, you can. The network has a TV channel. It's on Roku. So you're going to go to the channel store on Roku. You're going to type in UFO space P as in paranormal. And there's a drop-down list. We're about the 3rd or 4th one down. You're looking for UFO space paranormal and United Public Radio. And that's how you can watch us on TV. Now, this network does broadcast to every country in the world, which is so cool. But 80% of our audience is audio only. So I say, if you can't see us, you can't join the conversation. And we'd love to have you join the conversation. You can tell it's Christmas. People usually file in a little later, but hopefully you guys are going to join us here. I haven't seen any comments yet, but I'm sure I will. So how you can join and watch, nothing wrong with listening, but if you say you want to add something to the conversation, we'd love to have you join us. If you watch this show or my second show on Thursday night, both shows are very audience participative, and we'd love to have you guys ask questions, comments. We've got a super great live chat here, really kind to one another. So how you can do that? Facebook is not playing nice, neither is Twitch, and Roku is flashing at me tonight. So hopefully I'll tell you how to find us. Well, we see Dell here. He knows Varla. Mish is here from the future. It's Christmas Eve over in Australia. I'm guessing Christmas Eve day. She says, good day, all. So you can watch us on Lorilei Potvin. That's my Facebook profile. It's public, so you don't have to be on my friends list to watch. You can go to my YouTube channel, which is the Angel Rock of Lorilei Potvin. We are on one of the network YouTube channels, which is UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. We do have a secondary backup channel also under the name of UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, but we're not streaming there tonight. Hi, Ruth Kleber. You didn't miss us. Oh, Game of Drones. Yeah, we might talk about that. We'll see. We should be streaming on UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio on Twitch, but I have a red exclamation point, so I have no idea if you guys are seeing us or not. We're streaming to the Angel Rock on Instagram. Just so you guys know, sometimes it streams for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and they don't integrate the chat over here. So I'm going to try and pop back and forth between Instagram and I almost said Snapchat, TikTok. So I figured out a way how to stream to TikTok. I want to give Michelle Wilfong a huge shout out. She's usually here. She's one of my mods over on TikTok. She does a fantastic job, and I really appreciate all the hard work she does on TikTok for me when I'm live. So you guys check out her TikTok channel. She has a haunted apartment. She posts many videos, usually a couple a day. So check them out. She's had interesting activity. We are streaming on my Rumble channel under the name of Mystique 1508. And as I always tell you guys, it's not a stripper name. It comes from X-Men. And it's actually Raven's X-Men name, Mystique. Sometimes I used to go by Raven Mystique or just Mystique. So that's what it's under. Let's see, where else are we? And like I say, we are on TikTok under the Angel Rock. So hang on here. Let me read my poor guest. She's been so patient. I can read you her bio here. She's been on many times. You guys love her. We love her. I've known her for many years, even when I was on my old network and I used to do the Angel Rock Monday through Friday. So her name is Varla Ventura. She's an incredible author, having written books about the paranormal, the strange and unusual, vampires, werewolves. She's also got a new book out about magical plants. And I hear she's got another new book coming out. So we're going to have her on in the spring about it. I was talking to her before we went live about it. So I'm sure she'll tell us all about it. As well as she's a lover of all things strange, hidden history, and wild things. So welcome, Varla. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. I was pleasantly amused during that introduction. You're a dynamo. You're all these got to push this button and this button and this button. You could be a pilot.
That comes from being a mom, right? And multitasking as your kid's talking to you. And I had two. So the second one didn't talk that much in the beginning, but talk. And you're trying to do something, or a nurse too, right?
Yeah, or a nurse. Yeah. Well, you're amazing. So thank you for having me again.
Thank you. Let me say hi to everybody here while they're here. Yes. Oh, Mish says, Lorilei, you're flashing. Yes, I know I am. I got this shirt last year. We went out with Dell's mom for a Christmas dinner. We decided we're not cooking anymore. So you should go out for a nice dinner. No dishes. So we did that. And I got this last year. And it was right at the end of the Christmas season. And I grabbed the wrong shirt. I'm always late. So I'm running around like a mad woman trying to find the right one. My mother-in-law says, well, why didn't you just wear the one you had? I said, because when am I ever going to wear this if it's not Christmas time with the flashing lights? So I said, I'm wearing it tonight. Let's see.
Perfect.
It's perfect. Lisa Martinello's here. She said, good evening, ladies. Michelle Wilfong, were your ears burning? I just was talking about you.
Singing your praises.
Aw, I think we got everybody. I should check Instagram. Hang on. Instagram. Everybody's quiet tonight, but I expect it because it's almost Christmas Eve. It is Christmas Eve in some places.
There's a scramble. There's a scramble out there.
So I have you on usually 4 times a year. We usually come with the change of season. So tonight, usually we talk about like Yule and Christmas stuff, which we will. But can you tell people the name of your magical plants book that's out? And
okay, so that is the book that is coming out. It will be released April.
I thought you 7th. Had it out already. I'm so sorry.
Oh no! It's coming out April 7th. It's in production as we speak. It's taking its sweet time. Lots of color in that book, and last I heard, there'll be gilded edges. Ooh. So worth the wait, I think. A book that probably, in a way, took me 20 years to write, but has been in production since last. Actually, I think I was on with you in March of 2024, and I had you. We were booked. It was a Monday, and we were booked, and my deadline for the manuscript
That
for
you
this
were on
book.
since then too. I think I had you on in the summertime, but I
Yes,
remember you
yes.
had to get off. You had to get off because you had to get in before midnight.
Yes, but I knew it, and I had you booked, and I thought, oh, that's going to be good because this is going to be a break and inspiration. She's going to encourage me, and of course, you're always. I don't know about all people in the world, but writers in general do tend to sort of. It's hard to turn something in because everything comes to you right at the last minute. All the things that you forget that you wanted to put in, and suddenly you don't have time, and someone's breathing down your neck, and so that was great because actually I think I got off the phone with you and then I just
Yeah, but you and I get talking and like
we
hours
do. I was
pass.
like, I have to turn this manuscript in. I already passed my deadline. So that book is called Enchanted Plants, a Treasury of Botanical Folklore and Magic, and that is coming out in April. I believe right now the release date is April 7th, 2025. It's a spring book. It's available for pre-order now. I
Yeah, because the
think
cover's beautiful. I remember posting the cover a couple
it's
times.
hardcover. It'll be a hardcover book. It's got foil stamping, so those of you in the biz know what that means. It's got the shiny stuff on it and gilded edges. I am looking forward to seeing it myself. I've seen, of course,
I can't wait.
the designed interior and everything, so I know what it. I think I know what it's going to look like, but I have a feeling it's going to surpass my wildest imagination. But that book is coming out. I'm very excited about it. And yeah, you pre-order it. Sometimes you get it earlier. I've had people pre-order the book and they have gotten it before I have.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
because the publisher usually gets it a little bit early and they'll drop ship you a box so that
Okay.
you can, smell them and sort of like, lay them out and throw your body upon them and all the things
Yeah.
that you need to do when your book first comes out.
Yeah.
Probably just revealed a little too much about myself there, but
No, you didn't. No, you're because how many years have I been telling you I'm writing 3 books?
It's
And
really an accomplishment, and it's difficult to do, right? It is. Yes, it is. And you know what? That's okay. Like I said, this book really probably took me 20 years to write. All of the words that came out that went into the book didn't take me 20 years, but the concepts, the ideas of it, and what it is an exploration of plants, but it's an exploration of fairy tales and folklore through the lens of plants. So every story, plants are pivotal to the story. I'm a sucker for anything. I'm a plant nerd, so anything that is.
ever since I met you, though,
This
like I
is
remember
about this, right?
years ago, you would talk to me about how much
Yeah.
you love botany and plants and the magical
Yes.
elements of it. I'm going to give
Yes.
Carrie Lynn shout out. Carrie Lynn Shellhorn. Her and I have been friends for long enough, and I just realized I was leaving an N off her first name. There's
Oh
two.
no.
Anyway, she's over on Instagram, and Varla, you're going to be on her show.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be on her show. I believe April right after the book comes out. April 11th, I think is the date.
Yeah,
I believe
so
that's the date. So
we're going to give Carrie Lynn a shout out. She has Spirit
Ah.
Switchboard here on Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She has a fantastic show with Spirit Switchboard, great guests. And yeah, I always talked about you to Carrie Lynn. And then
I know.
Lynn
And you've talked about Carrie Lynn to me. And so I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that introduction. I can't wait to meet her for
Oh,
that
you're
show
gonna
and
love her.
hopefully in real life at some point in the
You're
near
gonna
future.
you're going to love her. Well, she lives in southern Ontario. So the fact that we got to meet in person at the paranormal conference was so awesome. We got to sit
What a treat.
together with our merch tables and didn't get to see as much of the conference because we were kind of way at the end from the conference, but it was such a short time, and she's been so kind to my youngest son, Justin. He always talk about him. He's the one, he'll be 27 actually in March. I don't know where the time has gone. But he has severe autism, and she knows how much he loves McDonald's because if I'm usually chatting to someone, not on the show, but afterwards or whatever, he'll pop in, and he happened to tell Carrie Lynn that he's in love with the Monopoly tickets when they play Monopoly with McDonald's.
Oh,
And
okay.
she's so sweet. She mailed some to him. So when she came, she said, we have to have a night out with Justin, because she only had, like, I think she got here late the Thursday, and she had her own event, not her own event, but they had put it with the conference, and it was called Spirits and Sweets. It's something that she, including
I
dining.
saw that. Yeah, I saw that. That looked lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we had
I was jealous that I wasn't at that conference, actually.
I know. Well,
very
we're
jealous.
supposed to be doing it again in 2025. So
Yeah.
that's what I hear.
They should have me there.
I think they should have you there. I do. And
I think I could drive from here, couldn't I?
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
That's
Just,
you know,
due north. I'm just gonna go due north. That's all I got to do.
in the summertime. You know what? If you are traveling, because we're not that far apart across the board.
No, we're not. We're probably 4 hours at the most, right?
Yeah. No, I
Maybe
don't. Dell, how far are we? He's in the chat, I think. So how far away
tell us,
are
Dell.
we? 2.5
From Twin
hours?
Cities.
Oh, Twin Cities. Yeah, we are. Twin Cities. I didn't realize you were in the Twin Cities. So about 6.5 hours.
Oh, that's nothing. After all these years, that's nothing.
That's
nothing. We can bridge
I thought
that
you were
gap.
closer, but if you're by the Twin Cities, yeah, it's about.
Well, I'm a little north, but not that far north. But far enough north that it's really cold.
Well, we used to
That's
go to
all of Minnesota, though.
We used to go to Cadott for Rock Fest. And I know it's not.
Oh, I remember. I think it was it you or Dell telling me about going down into Wisconsin because back in the day, the drinking age was younger. So
that would have been Dell.
Yeah, it was Dell. I think it was Dell.
Well, he had the Florida 4, right? Like he had, one of them has since passed away, but there's still 3 of them. They went to every concert. They went, yes, and because the drinking age, right? Duluth, Minnesota.
Yeah, you go to Duluth and then you cruise over the bridge and you go to Superior, right?
Superior, 2 minutes over, and you're
2 minutes away. And then you had it was like the drinking age was I think 18.
And Superior had, back in the day, a whole street just full of bars.
Okay, so I was in Superior, and I thought I was in Superior. Let's see, this winter I was in Superior, and there are still quite a few bars.
They are there.
Yes, there are. I was there for a hockey. Of course, I was there for a hockey tournament.
Oh,
so,
okay,
yeah. There's a few bars. There's a few things there. It's not quite as thriving as it once was. Of course, there is this really beautiful mansion there, though, that I'm convinced is haunted. That I visited a couple times. It's pretty cool to kind of wander around. They leave you unsupervised, and you can kind of.
I have not been to Duluth or Superior or anything like that. Probably in about 6-7 years, maybe.
Have you been to the Congdon Mansion in Duluth? Which I think what's it called? It's called something else now. It's got this lovely name, and they do concerts there. But that is also the place of not having been from here. The first time I went up there, somehow through media contacts or whatever, I organized a personal tour of this mansion.
Okay.
Oh, Glensheen. It's called Glensheen.
Oh, I've heard of Glensheen. Yeah, I've heard of Glensheen.
Beautiful. It's right on the shores of Lake Superior.
I know where it is, actually.
Stone mansion. It has everything you could ever want in a mansion. It's got moody lake views. It's got the stained glass conservatory with like vines into the stained glass. It's got fireplace in every room, a basement that is like a finished basement that has a sort of a walkout into the patio, and then of course at the very top it has an attic full of things. Ooh. And somehow I managed to finagle this personal tour with the director at the time.
Right.
And he took me into the attic, which was a really fabulous experience because most of the time you don't get to go in the attic because that's kind of the storage.
Yeah.
Well, I was oblivious to the fact that there was a very, very brutal murder in that mansion in the 1970s. Ooh. And so the estate was actually sort of inherited and then kind of like went to a private organization or the university or something. The beautiful part about that, and of course, he wasn't really getting into. I didn't even know about the murders, so as soon as I heard that, I was like, "Wait, what?" I didn't know any of that though, and that's not why I was there. I was there because it was this beautiful historic mansion, totally oblivious to the very tragic story there.
I hadn't heard that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a. I think it was the one of the heirs to the Cogden estate was she was murdered and her nurse was murdered.
Oh my
She was an
gosh.
elderly woman, and it was absolutely horrific. And they convicted a couple people, but there's speculation and who actually did it. So I didn't know any of this, and I'm just walking around, and I'm kind of feeling. There's a couple spots I'm feeling, and it turns out that what happened though is because of that, and because the people who were accused of the murder were involved with the family, the estate went into this like extremely long. Like this period where like I wanted to say escrow. What's it called when the estate is basically like locked up until you're until
Isn't it like an escrow, like or a
it's like
lien?
after somebody dies, and if they haven't left proper documentation, it goes into this lockdown.
I think it is called an escrow. I think.
I thought escrow was like when you're buying a house. Maybe it's escrow for an estate. Either way,
I
right?
don't know.
Well, nonetheless, as a result, the house was full of things that were from the era because they had been inherited throughout the generations. So most of what you see in that estate is not staged, unlike other historic mansions.
Right.
It's the actual things that have been in that home for all of those years. So anyway, I got to go in the attic, and that was really fun. And then I found out about the murders, and then I wanted to go back, of course. But and I have been
It's
back.
by Lake Superior, though,
It's
isn't
on
it?
Lake Superior.
I know it's on
Lake
this
Superior.
side. It's on the left-hand side if you're
It's on
driving.
your yes. It's on yeah. If you're leaving Duluth and you're sort of like kind of it. Yeah, it's on the well, they would call it the North Shores, what they call it down here. But of
Well, I
course,
was thinking the water too, adding to the energy. Did you
oh
have
yeah,
any
it's
experiences?
amazing. It's an amazing place, and I kind of want to live there, but I don't.
Did you have any experiences?
I didn't really have any experiences, though, but I did take like I was taking photos, and I think he was used to people being like, "Oh, is this where the murder was?" And I didn't know about the murder at all, or I probably would have been like that, to be honest. So I took some really haunting photos in the attic. And there was one room that I happened to be very, very drawn toward. And that room, I just really liked that room, but I wasn't quite sure why. And that was the woman's room who had been murdered. So it was a really nice room. So of course you like it. No, so I didn't have any experiences there, but that would be a great place to meet at some point.
Oh my gosh.
Out there.
Yes. Well, I want to say hi to, and then I was going to tell you about Bluefin Bay, but Julie Jean Bassett just popped in and says, hi, Lorilei, and everyone, including Varla. So I will always give Julie Jean a huge shout out because she is an incredible animal communicator. I took my animal communication course with her. She has helped me with my animals, and she's also phenomenal because I know people look for a good animal communicator, and Julie is phenomenal. They can be earthside. She does mediumship with pets, but she's also a really powerful shamanic practitioner. I had a session with her. It was life-changing, and I'm hoping over the Christmas holidays to even maybe do a few lives with Julie, just to kind of hang out. And I haven't done free readings in a long time, and I need practice with my animal communication. So I think we're going to do that. So you guys, if you're looking for a gift, last minute gift, you got somebody that's got pet fur babies, they want to know what's going on with them, Julie's your person. Check her out, juliejeanbassett.com. So I wanted to give her a shout out. So
That's a great last minute gift.
I know.
As would be a session with you.
Oh, well,
that would be an incredible. Yeah.
Actually, I do have some bookings over Christmas. So I'm quite happy about that, actually. But I need every second before Christmas gets here. Christmas morning, once everything's ripped open, we were talking about before we went live, and then it's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's quiet now.
Oh, my son is a tender. He's a tender present opener.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he's in
Oh,
fact, we have to make sure that there are enough gifts under the tree so that he doesn't feel like other people didn't get enough gifts. And he opens very slowly, and
mhm.
he likes to like look at things and read things and watch you open. He's not a ripper through. So we actually spend all day opening presents. We
That's so
break,
cool.
we have a little coffee and a little breakfast, then we do some more present opening, then we break again and we have a little wine and a little snack. We always do a
Nice.
scavenger hunt for him. So there's
Ooh.
always something kind of like and then we leave a few presents, and it's really, sometimes we leave presents. Last year I think we left one present for the next day, just because
Ah,
you get more out of it. I know it's a delight. It's not how it was when I grew up. I mean, I grew up with a bunch of siblings and you just rip through everything
yeah.
and like, yeah,
Mhm.
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's kind of part of
Well,
the joy of
Justin still
Christmas.
believes in Santa. So he
It's
only
because Santa's real. So
yes, yes, Santa is real for anybody listening, but he believes in the magic and the tradition, I should say.
beautiful. Yes,
So
yeah.
he only eats 6 foods, but one of the things that we
What are
cannot
the 6 foods?
chicken nuggets, French fries, ketchup chips, and salt and vinegar chips. They count as one food. Fish crackers, we call them goldfish crackers. He has a terrible diet and loves Coke Zero, so he's limited
Ooh,
in that.
I like Coke Zero actually.
I do too, but
I like it better than
no,
Diet Coke.
it's not healthy. And his mother's a
No, no,
nurse, and
no.
I've
Yeah,
never
I
given
know,
one.
right?
But the one thing he will eat, and I have to make it every year. My eldest is engaged, and they have their own house, and they're hosting Christmas dinner tomorrow night, actually. So he it's I'm trying to think. I lost my train of thought for a sec there. It's that peanut butter marshmallow bar with the multicolored marshmallows, and
Mm.
it's got, I think, peanut butter, butterscotch chips. Some people put coconut in it, but nobody at our house likes coconut. So I make that for him. And then Justin, he calls them cherry cookies. It's I think my grandmother or great grandmother's shortbread recipe, but I have to cut them out. And then I have maraschino cherries, have to cut them up, and he calls them cherry cookies, or because they look like little noses in the middle.
Oh,
So I'll be
I
making
love it.
those after this tonight.
I know. I was like, okay, what am I? I'm actually going to make some cookies tonight, probably too.
Are you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'm going to make. Um, I'm ridiculously ambitious and frequently fail, but I think I'm going to, but hey, why not? That's what Christmas is for.
Yeah.
I'm going to make so I'm going to make, the French style macarons, which I have made
Oh.
relatively successfully before.
Mhm.
But I am going to make cranberry macarons, and then I'm going
Oh.
to attempt to make like a gingerbread one. The
Mhm.
gingerbread one, you put like a ginger buttercream on the inside, and the cranberry one, you make like a cranberry, like gelée, whatever. You make like basically a cranberry sauce that's super,
Mhm.
super thick, and you
That
put
sounds
that
beautiful.
inside. So I am sort of known for Pinterest fails on my house.
They just
So
don't
it'll
have, that's
probably
me too.
taste good. We'll see. We'll see. If it looks pretty, I'll take a picture. If it doesn't, I might take a picture anyway.
Well, my heart goes out to, we had a neighbor that got very ill a couple months ago, and everybody in my neighborhood, it's so weird. I only moved a couple blocks from the haunted house I was in. It was like the whole neighborhood over there was affected. Not nice neighbors. They were really not nice people. It was like the whole place was affected. And and then we moved here where we are. We're in a townhouse now. And you get talking to the neighbors, and you say, oh my gosh, it's just such a blessing to have such nice neighbors
Mhm.
compared to my other ones. And now we laugh about it because we've been here 5 years at the end of January. Because I said to them, I'm sure you guys were all thinking when I'd say that, thinking, oh, nobody has terrible neighbors for no reason. Like, everybody, you guys had to have done
Mm,
something. We didn't. And so
no,
um
I've got a neighbor that I'll call the cops on him if he shows up. So
oh,
yeah,
well,
that's fun.
everybody loves one another. I haven't quite figured out what I'm doing yet. I have some things that my love language is gift giving. So I love to make up little gift baskets and give them to the neighbors. But one of them, she got sick probably about 12, 13 weeks ago, and she passed away on the 17th.
Oh,
So it was
I'm
very,
so sorry. That's such
yes.
a
So
terrible time.
I sent her much love, her family, and prayers, and let them know we're thinking about them. So, yeah, that was a little disheartening. A lot of people, though, I've been noticing on social media. So, if you've lost somebody, my heart goes out to you, or a fur baby. There's been a lot of fur babies this month for some reason. I've been seeing. I'm not
Yeah.
sure why.
Well, I'll echo that sentiment because I think that, kind of it starts with Halloween and we go through the solstice, and
Mhm.
there's that sort of passage into the darkness. And I think that that is
Mhm.
also very like metaphorically representative of grief, not that
Mhm.
grief like, oh, the sun comes out and everything's fine. That's not how
Mhm.
grief operates. Grief gets its tenterhooks in you and it
Yeah.
holds on, and it shows up when you're stirring a pot in the middle of summer or you're
Mhm.
walking the dog. I mean, your grief shows up in those times when the person that you're missing would have been there, which
Yeah.
is, very cyclical. And yes, I recently went to a memorial service for a dear friend of mine, and who
I'm
was very
sorry.
young when she passed away. And
Oh.
yeah, it's just, there's just been an anestheticized hole in the world, and there's nothing you can really do to change that.
Mm.
Um, and it's, yeah, so I echo that sentiment. My heart goes out to everyone who is feeling, you feel that loss so much and so profoundly in the darkness of winter, at the times when you're celebrating, you're wrapping a gift under the tree, and that person's gift isn't there. You're not
Mhm.
buying something for them. And
Mhm.
I think that part of the sort of winter rituals that we do, and that actually culturally happen quite a bit, is the remembrance. We sort of associate that with Halloween, but really, the remembrance can be very healing this time of year, to light a candle, to set a place for the person who isn't there, to
Mhm.
acknowledge them, have a toast to them.
Mhm.
Because if you just shove it inside, which we're really good at, right? Hey, we're moms. We know all about shoving our
Mhm.
feelings,
Mhm.
but you push it inside. But when you do that, other people around you do that too. And that's not what we want or need for the world, right? We need people to be able to express, hey, I feel crappy right now. I don't want to talk to you. I'm just going to go stomp it out,
Or what
So,
I find, and I've tried to teach, not so much my youngest because he doesn't understand so much, but my eldest in particular, because when I find the most difficult time, because I'm very, if it sounds crazy, passionate about grief, not that I ever want people to go through it, but I have a real spot, if you will, in my soul for people that are going through grief. Or, that was some of my most rewarding work working out in the community, was working with the terminally ill and their families. And when everybody's around, and say you've lost somebody and it's not expected, or even if it is expected, people are
yeah.
around, you go through a range of emotions of shock, disbelief, anger, and what have you. But grief comes on, right? It's there. But what happens is everybody's around. Maybe people are sending food or somebody's sending a
Yeah,
card.
there's food, there's flowers, there's things to do. You have to do all of these things. You have to organize all of these things. And so
Mhm.
you're too busy organizing all of the things to process anything else.
It's the time after, though, and what I
Yeah.
find with most people is, and they're well-meaning, but they don't wanna bring up the person who's no longer with us, their name, because they
Yeah.
know the person close to them may cry, or they do wanna talk about them, or whatever. It's the time after where everybody else's life returns to normal, not
Normal, right?
normal.
And what we really need to normalize are the tears, right? The spontaneous tears in the grocery store.
Mhm.
And I remember always feeling so comfortable in a graveyard. And part of the reason I always felt comfortable in a graveyard is because you can cry there without anybody
Yeah.
judging you.
Mhm.
Maybe someone will approach you and, put a soft arm on your shoulder and offer you a tissue, but generally you're left alone to be able to express that. If
Mhm.
you're, staring at the soup cans in the grocery store and you lose it, which I have,
Yep.
that's a totally different experience. It makes people very uncomfortable, but
That's where I was going. People are uncomfortable, even if it's with a silence. Or I've met so many people that say, you know, I, I need to talk about so and so, but people change the subject, or
yeah,
they
they
never bring the
don't hear
person's
it.
name up, or
Some
because I
people
cry, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
or it brings up something painful, and I get
Hmm.
it, of course, you're not going to be facing your pain all day, every day, but that's kinda what grief is. You are facing your pain all day, every
And
day.
you may think you're
Here all day.
fine, and all of a sudden, like you said, you pick up a soup can in the grocery store and it triggers something that you
Yeah,
didn't even know was still
yeah, it's
there.
often the mundane things. It is often the mundane things because the people that we've lost in our lives, yeah, they're part of your mundane life, right? In many ways, right? They're part of your ordinary normal life, and
Mhm.
so it's often those ordinary normal things that trigger their loss, and it can also be big monumental things like a Christmas dinner or
A birthday.
yeah. One thing I tried to do because I don't know, I try and I also get bored easily, so I'm always trying new things. But sometimes having a totally new tradition, especially if you've lost
Mhm.
someone before the holidays, that can be, I wouldn't say it's like a solution, but it can at least create a new memory that
Yes.
gives you some like forward, it's the looking forward that you really have to, that's the slippery slope. It's the inability to look forward because you can't imagine a life that doesn't contain this person, or you're so sad that there's a life that doesn't contain this person. And
Mhm.
so when you can't look forward, that's when you kind of start, like, you sort of start falling off the edge a little bit. So
Mm.
yeah.
Well, Michelle brought up a good point too. Hi, Faye. Ewing Garza, her husband's Roger Garza. They were on our network
Oh
before.
yes,
They're still
I
big.
recognize those names. Yes.
Yes, she said hello, ladies. But Mish said some people don't ask because you may cry. Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
My whole point was, even if, say, we're supporting someone that's gone through a loss and it may feel uncomfortable, it's okay. It's okay just to be there. And I always say to people, because I've, working with people, they'll say, well, I don't know what to say and I don't want to make them cry. But I always say to them, ask yourself, if you've been through a loss. Not everybody has, but somebody's lost something that's very important to them, even if it may not have been someone close to them. What do you think you might need? Most of us say, like you said, somebody may slip a warm arm around you at the cemetery if you're crying. Now, some people may not want to be touched, but just
I mean, a warm arm at the cemetery is kind of my
well, but
ideal date,
being
but
there, just
yes.
being there, and just being
And
present.
you know what? Just saying something. Like,
Mhm.
I think the things that stand out more are like just saying anything. You might be where, oh, I'm going to say the same stupid thing everybody else is saying. That's okay. Also with grief, you don't always remember all the details of all the things, of books, who sent you what, and all of that kind of stuff. But what you do remember is the people that show up, that let
Yeah.
you cry, that
Mhm.
just let you talk about that
Yes,
person.
and
And
be.
it's true, and people just aren't, right. Not everyone's comfortable with public displays of emotion, right? But I mean, sometimes it happens, and just being present for someone can be very advantageous. And I say this
Mhm.
on both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I know who showed up for me
Yes.
when when we had a big loss in my. I know who was there,
So sorry.
and it doesn't have to be a person that was. It can, honestly, it can be a Facebook message.
Mhm. But it is, and I always say you find out who the people that care about you when you go through
Yeah,
something difficult.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
want to remind people out there, we're not trying to get all morbid or anything, but I know this is
But
a
we can't help
funny trigger.
ourselves.
No, but it is a really
It is.
difficult
It
time
is.
for people, some people at this time of year. And I always say, if you can, please reach out to local. There's many support, depending on what you're going through with mental health, depending on where you live, there are support helplines. If you're able to, sometimes by helping others in need, if you're really feeling alone, I'm telling you, sometimes it's more of a gift to yourself, even than by helping out with others. And it gets you out of the house and gets you with other people if you're able to manage it, or reach out to people. I know it may feel weird and you may feel like, I don't want to call them, they're going to be doing whatever. You mean more to more people than you will ever know. And it may seem cliche, but just look at the movie It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a great example, and my favorite Christmas movie.
One of my favorites,
Yeah,
and Love
yeah, I
Actually.
love it. Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, of course, with the boombox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody wants someone with the boombox on the lawn.
So let's get into some of, we already had almost an hour go by. It goes by so quick.
And you never know what we're going to talk about, but
We don't. I never worry about what we're going to talk about because I know we have more than enough to talk about. But you know what I'm interested in? Because I don't think I've ever asked anybody about this. Like, why do we have mistletoe? Why do we use poinsettias? And feel free, I see some people were sharing some of their Christmas things they're making for dinner or whatever.
oh
Please
yeah,
feel free to share. Or what plants, say, for example, do you use in your neck of the woods
yeah.
around
Think
this?
about the herbs, the ingredients that you use and what you cook. Yeah. Well, okay, mistletoe is like that. If there's one plant, I mean, we associate there's several things for the holly, ivy, evergreen
That's what I
trees.
meant, just to get it
Yeah,
started, because there's so
all
many.
the plants.
Mhm.
And mistletoe is probably like the most synonymous with Christmas because it's like the only time of year we really do anything with mistletoe. It's
Right.
up there growing, but it's really kind of the only time of year that we are like, okay, time to hang the mistletoe. Which reminds me, I don't have any mistletoe right now.
Me neither.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I grew up in an area in California in the foothills, and we used to go out into the woods and get mistletoe at this time of
Right.
year. And
Ooh.
have like very visceral memories of sort of like holding onto the side of a great oak tree, and there it's kind of icy, and the oak bark is pretty relatively smooth as far as climbing a tree goes, and we just like getting this mistletoe down, and hoping, like sometimes the best was like when a branch had fallen down and you could just gather a bit of it. But kids used to gather it up and like tie little ribbons on it and just sell it in front of the Safeway or whatever, like grocery store.
Wow.
Now here where I live, I don't know if it's as abundant. There are oak trees here, of course. Mistletoe typically grows. It can grow on a lot of different plants, but it typically grows on like ash and oak trees.
I didn't know that.
So I'm sure that there are forests that have mistletoe around here, but they're not. They don't seem. I'm just not right in the middle of them. Yeah, and actually that has a tie-in with sort of the plant lore of this time of year and the Yule log, because frequently the Yule logs were ash or oak for very sacred reasons.
Oh, well,
So
before we get into that, I thought Julie brought up a good point. I'm going to put this out here. Poinsettias and
yes,
mistletoe are poisonous to a lot of our pets. Please keep them out of their reach. Yes.
absolutely. Poinsettias are totally poisonous. Mistletoe are poisonous, and I agree, keep them out of reach of pets. And actually, mistletoe is completely poisonous to humans as well.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's part of the
Not that I
magic of mistletoe. Yeah, don't go chewing on mistletoe. But that is an excellent point. Be mindful, because we know, I got a puppy. She chews on everything.
Aw.
So, but one of the reasons that we actually have mistletoe, and it's one of the backstories of mistletoe, is the story of basically the Norse goddess Frigg, which is where we get the word frigid.
Oh, wow. You're
She
just
had
telling me all kinds of stuff I didn't know.
yeah, the origin of the word frigid. She Frigg or Fridge. We had the so she had a prophecy. I don't know why. I guess I'm just feeling her right now. So she had a prophecy that her son Balder would be killed. So she made sure that all of the toxic plants and everything that could possibly hurt him, I think she even prophesied that it would be a poison arrow. So she eliminated all the poisons in the world. This
Wow.
brings on winter. So this is part of the winter origin as well. So she knocks out all the plants. All the plants died. Nothing can harm her son.
Mhm.
Except she didn't knock out mistletoe. Mistletoe is a hemiparasite. So a lot of people say it's a parasite. It's not a full parasitic plant. A parasitic plant actually harms the plant that it's on and feeds off of it. A hemiparasite, which is what mistletoe is, has a little bit more of a symbiotic relationship with whatever plant it grows on, because mistletoe has the ability to photosynthesize, so it can produce its own food. So it's kind of more just like using it as an anchor, as a place to be, as a place to grow, and also as a place for birds and other animals that it's not toxic to can eat it and then spread the seed.
So before you go on, what would be an example of say a magical, if you can, but a parasitic plant then?
A parasitic plant. That's a great question. Let me think about that for a second. A parasitic plant. I mean, there's a few parasitic fungi.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's all I could think of.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a few parasitic fungi. There's the strangler fig. The strangler fig is basically a parasite, but it doesn't. It's sort of in between I don't know if there's a degree in botany between hemiparasite and parasite, but the strangler fig essentially like holds onto the carcass of a tree as it's dying and uses, because it's a vine, it uses that as a structure for it. So those are like a couple of examples.
I
Yeah,
wonder,
great.
do you guys
Great
have
question.
loosestrife? Do you guys have loosestrife at all? We do. I know that that's an invasive and it takes over. So I don't know if it's parasitic.
Invasive plants are abundant. A parasitic plant actually feeds upon the host plant and like breaks it down.
Right.
And so mistletoe doesn't actually cause damage to an oak tree or an ash tree.
Well, no, but you said like with the birds,
Oh.
like with the birds and the animals that could still eat it. And
yes, it attracts animals that could also potentially then help spread the seed of both the plant, like the acorns and the seeds of the berries from the mistletoe. It doesn't. I wouldn't say it helps, except it might help in a like spiritual way, and I'll kind of explain that.
what about but didn't you say it photosynthesizes too?
It does photosynthesize, so it produces its own food.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is why it still looks green in the middle of winter.
Okay.
So Frigg's like, basically, I'm gonna kill everything, so like nothing will kill my son.
Nothing hurts my baby.
Yeah, nothing hurts my baby. Stay away from my baby. We all understand that.
The true original boy mom.
Yeah, right. Serious boy mom there. All the way fierce. So she manages to do that. However, she doesn't kill the mistletoe because it's growing hemiparasitically on the ash tree. The ash tree is very sacred in Norse mythology. It's basically the tree of life, right? The Yggdrasil. And so she doesn't notice this. And then Loki, who is the trickster, basically takes an arrow and he, mixes the poison up. All parts of mistletoe are toxic. So he makes a toxic mixture, and then he thinks it's funny to give it to this guy, Hodor, who's blind.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, and he says, "Can you shoot this arrow?" Well, he shoots the arrow. It hits Balder. Balder dies. And of course, Frigg is like completely devastated and totally furious. And everyone's sort of like somewhat punished, but Loki just kind of goes about doing his trickster things.
Of course.
But the gods, of course, in Norse mythology, plants have a lot of energy and their own personalities. So the gods say to mistletoe, you cannot harm, you cannot cause any more harm. So they sort of put this like spell on mistletoe. So mistletoe is allowed to continue to grow, but cannot be used for harm. So this is, of course, one of the many theories, but and I'm kind of drawn this conclusion from the research that I've had, that I think that is why we kiss under mistletoe.
Ah,
It's not because, I think it has become a symbol of fertility and love, but it's because the mistletoe is bound to do no harm because
ah,
of this egregious slight against Balder back in the day.
that
So
makes
that's one of the stories equated with mistletoe. Because mistletoe grows on oak and ash, those are sacred trees. Oaks were sacred to the Druids. So anything that grew on it, in fact, if you've ever heard of the sort of the mystique of the golden bough, no one really knows exactly what the golden bough is, but the golden bough is a branch that basically you pass it across, a stone or sort of a spot, a magical spot, and it opens the gates to the underworld. It opens the passage to the world of the dead.
I'm learning all kinds of stuff today because we are talking about something that I don't think you and I've ever talked about. I'm like, just like, oh my God, tell me more.
So some people believe that the golden bough is actually mistletoe. There's a whole, series
Oh,
of many people over the years, occult scholars believe that the golden bough is mistletoe, and that you can, chop this branch down. It makes sense too, because frequently we're talking about the passage into the underworld this time of year. We have the Persephone and Hades situation, right?
right.
We've got, but pomegranates are another food that's sort of equated with this time of year. But
Oh,
we know the story behind Persephone. Now there's a few versions of it, right? There's the nice version, which is that she simply couldn't resist his charms.
right.
There's the other, probably slightly more realistic version, that she was taken away with the help of Zeus.
Mhm.
And her mother, Demeter, who is the goddess of fertility and all of the plants,
Mhm.
basically in agriculture, was so enraged that, again, another mother's fury happening here, that she was so enraged with them stealing her daughter and marrying him off to the god of the underworld, that she caused a blight on the earth and everything died. And that's why everything's, dead part of the year for winter. And then Persephone went down into the underworld, and
Right.
Hades tempted her with the seeds of a pomegranate. And with each seed that she ate, she was more tied to him. That has a direct coalition with like all kinds of fairy mythology. That is a huge no-no. If you want to come back from the fairy realm, do not eat or drink a thing. That is your only safeguard against returning to the world of the
And why
mortal.
is it? Because there could be
Because
something, could
it's
be
enchanted. And once you
enchant-
eat enchanted food, it's not real food. It's enchanted food. And once you eat enchanted food, you're trapped. And it's really hard to get out of the fairy world once you're trapped. You can do it. It's been done, but it's really difficult. So
Ooh.
pomegranates, another food that sort of, you see pomegranates are out, actually, they're ripened this time of year as well, especially in the northern hemisphere.
I am
So
thinking of so many things as you were talking about this stuff, because there's a very tragic, I follow true crime too, case that was tried already, and I believe a verdict was finally done, but it was that those two little girls in, I want to say it's not Michigan, I forget where it is, but Abby and Libby, their names were. They were 13 and 14 out for a walk on the Mona and High Bridge. But the reason I bring this up, there was a theory, and I kind of believe it, but they poo-pooed it and they wouldn't allow it in court, where these girls were sacrificed in the name of Odinism. And there was a symbol, and one of the little girls was completely undressed and posed a certain way and had almost branches put over top her head, laying down, and her best friend beside her was wearing her clothes, and there was the F rune, it looked like, but was in her BLOOD. And nobody, there was a whole story behind this, and I really believe that there was something with Odinism in this, because it was just interesting when you're talking about all the stuff that you were, because I'm thinking, oh my God, branches, and it wasn't the golden
yeah.
branch, but
Oh,
mhm.
like somebody super desperate to get to the underworld, so they were making a sacrifice.
I don't know, because these
Yeah,
little girls
listen,
were,
folks, there's lots of ways to get to the underworld without making any
without
kind of
doing something
sacrifice
bad.
or murder.
But the
Let's be clear.
symbolism and the guards that were guarding the guy that eventually got charged 7 or 8 years later, well, anyways, long story short, he kept telling his lawyers, these guys are Odinists, like they're wearing the patches and everything. People are saying they wore patches, the guards in the jail, as Odinists.
Okay, so I have a addition to that, because you right on there, and this happened like years ago. I worked for an occult publisher, and I was an editor, and so we would get these we'd get letters, amazing letters. I think I've saved quite a few of them. Amazing letters we'd get from people from all over the world, but we would frequently get requests from prisoners, and they were always requesting a very specific book. And so one day, another editor and I were talking, and I was like, why are all the prisoners constantly requesting this rune book? It was a book. It was like a introduction to the runes. And he said, it's a secret alphabet. And I thought, well, of course, because if you're trying to have some kind of covert correspondence, you need a secret alphabet. And if you're, and in prison, you can't just get a book from anyone, but a publisher can send you a book. Like if it comes authorized. Yeah, I've heard so much.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of desire for occult books, but specifically the rune books. So yeah, they're secret society. I mean, there's a whole strange place we could go.
I was just thinking, though, when you were talking about what you were talking, and it got me thinking about that. It was such a terrible thing. And what I want to remind people is, too, Odinism is not necessarily associated with all the occult. And it was made very clear even in the media. There is some occult things, but I think that whomever was practicing this had twisted a lot of the practices and what have you.
Oh, of course. I mean, I think that's true with, it's like Satanism gets a bad rap, but there really isn't, there isn't, it's not the same thing, right? It's more, there's always going to be some extreme. I mean, it could be somebody on the extreme of any religion or beliefs. I mean, clearly somebody is mentally disturbed to go to those extremes. But there is something about the use of the runes for communication.
Interesting.
So, yeah. But so anyway, so one of the other kind of interesting things about back to mistletoe.
That's okay. I was heading back there.
Yeah. So one of the other interesting things about mistletoe is that it holds a lot of mystique. In like old world Germany, wands were sometimes fastened out of mistletoe and were used out of mistletoe. And it was believed that a wand of mistletoe would not only allow you to invoke ghosts, but you would be able to speak with them and speak their language.
Wow.
And that I find very interesting, because there is a whole sort of bubbling well of information about the high magic and the sort of thin veil during the 12 days of Christmas. Now,
I think it's thinner than it is even at Halloween, I believe.
I agree. I think Halloween is like your little appetizer, aperitif. It's like, okay, if you can handle what happened on Halloween night, then come along with us and we'll take you down where the veil is so thin, you'll be barely breathing by the time it's over, right?
I have so many questions, but so many plans about the Yule log and why mistletoe versus holly, why one's versus the other. Like, I have so many questions.
But I will say, like, one of the interesting things about this time of year, and some people say the 12 days of Christmas or the 12 days leading up to Christmas, but most sources, and in particular the source that I'm going to mention in a minute here, was Charles Dickens. It was basically Christmas Eve until, early January. And then there would be this other kind of like feast or whatever. But Charles Dickens himself actually wrote about wells that turn from water to blood. Should you be out on Christmas Eve at the stroke of midnight and find yourself thirsty, don't lower the bucket into the well, because what might come up is blood. And in addition, your animal communicator. Okay, so it's also believed that because the veil is so thin, you can hear animals speak this time of year.
Oh, Annabelle's Wish. My kids used to love that
Yeah.
movie. Did you
Yeah,
ever?
yeah, Annabelle's
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Yes, yes.
This is
So the
June.
veil is so thin that like the magic comes through, and you
For 1 day.
actually you have very, very there's just like the filters go away. Now there's also a lot of warnings about it, especially as of course the solstice became much more Christianized. There are all these warnings that it was witches out there cavorting. They're the ones out there dancing by the bonfire. Satan's out there, is going to take you to hell, all that kind of good stuff. So but the association with it being this very, very thin veil, yeah, witches probably were out because that is the time to communicate. That is the time to, like, if you're trying to pierce that veil, get a little help from the other side, ideal to do it when the veil is thin. Witches can do it anytime, but ideal to do it when the veil is thin, right?
But there's even so many, like you said, cooking herbs like cinnamon and apples and
Rosemary.
oranges and
Mhm,
like
mhm.
why holly versus mistletoe? Like what's the
Yeah,
difference?
well, okay, so those were used synonymously, of course. And a lot of what we think of as sort of our Christmas
Mhm.
iconography comes from Victorian postcards and stuff, right,
Yeah.
from North America. And there are not a lot of things that are thriving and green and beautiful this time of year, in the cold of winter.
Mhm.
So you frequently have things like holly. Ivy can generally withstand a lot of the cold, not where you and I live, but in England.
I was thinking everything,
My ivy is asleep right now. We'll
yeah.
see if it comes back.
Mhm.
And holly, but holly is very hardy, and it also has those bright red berries. So you have that kind of like beautiful um, imagery and something to kind of like bring in
Mhm.
during the holiday season. So a lot of the plants that we use are the plants that are viable this time of year. Really, probably more than anything.
See, it's
Um,
summertime in Australia. So Mish had added, we have 3 corner jacks, she says. Plants that grow hard prickles. She said it's as bad
ah,
as Lego when you step on it.
Ooh, I wonder if that's a wild cucumber slash something that is actually related to datura. I'm gonna have to look that up because datura is a total magical plant, but they do grow these like spiny little their seed
Wow.
encasings are so spiny if you step on them, they're absolutely vicious.
If Mish is
Yeah.
still
Oh,
here,
thank you for telling me. I'm gonna look that
she'll probably comment because, like I said, it's Christmas Eve over in Australia. It's super hot over there right
Christmas
now.
Eve, babe. Yeah.
And then we have a
Three
question too.
corner
Oh,
jacks.
wait.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
I can get a hold of her too if you have any more questions or whatever. Connect you. She's on Facebook. So Michelle Plummer, hello. I forgot to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I know we did at the beginning. I always forget to do my station
Yeah.
ID, but I'll remember
Oh
now.
yeah.
So if
You want to do it now? Do it now.
you're listening to the UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. This is the Angel Rock. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. This is my amazing guest, fan favorite, and good friend. I have her on, I try at least 4 times a year, Varla Ventura, and we're talking about magical, mystical plants of the season, the holiday season, and what have you. So thank you for joining in. So Michelle Plummer, hello, Michelle. I got to meet Michelle at the conference. She's lovely.
Oh, I'm jealous.
She said,
Again,
Terry
fully
Lynn.
jealous.
So she told Mish has given us more. So Michelle's asking, no, I always admired dogwood for standing out in the winter. I think it has therapeutic applications.
Yes, yes. And in particular, probably you might
Dogwood.
even be thinking of red twig dogwood, which totally like stands out these beautiful bright red branches in the wintertime. I have one, actually, my neighbor has one, and I just go over and snip his branches. Dogwood has a number of therapeutic applications. It actually has something in its bark that's similar to willow. So
Okay.
willow bark is where we get aspirin. So it has some
Oh, right.
pain relieving qualities. And I believe it might be more the leaves and the flowers, but there's a antiseptic quality with the bark. The bark has an antiseptic. And then flowers and leaves, I think they do have some medicinal value in terms of um, like congestion and allergies. But of course, you would use those in the spring. But yeah, it's a beautiful plant. It endures at very, very low temperatures. So zones 3 and above can grow it. Dogwood's absolutely beautiful. It's often one of the first flowers blooming in the spring too. So it's really a harbinger. Like if you think of it in a magical way, it's a harbinger of things to come.
Okay,
Like that
because
renewal of life.
Michelle I know is in Southern Ontario. So Julie's in the
Yeah,
States. She
yeah,
says, "Oh, I have a dogwood just outside my patio." And
yeah.
Michelle said, yes, handsome and handy.
Exactly. That is a great way to describe a
Is
dogwood,
that if your
handsome and
neighbors don't
handy.
find you handsome, let them find you handy? It was with that Canadian show, The Red Green Show or something. Did you ever see that show?
No, but I think that those are excellent
It was a
attributes. I like
comedy
a good
Canadian
combo,
redneck
handsome and
thing.
handy. That's a good
Yeah.
combo.
So if the
um,
ladies don't find
yeah,
you handsome, at least they should find you handy or
handy. I like
so.
that.
Mish is adding more, and then Dell. I'll read Dell's thing in a minute because Dell, you don't even know this. So Dell, what? Well, we might as well highlight it. Then I'll go to Michelle's thing. How do I say his name?
Oh, the sausage swiper.
You next.
Yeah, the Yule lads. Okay, okay, let's see.
I can't
Terrible
see
with my Icelandic. Is so rough. Bugnaklacker, the sausage
Okay,
swiper.
Dell, I ran across a picture of the sausage swiper about a week ago, and I was talking to
And then you had to
Varla.
delete your browser history.
No, and then I sent you a picture. I go, I
Yeah,
found this, and
I
I
did. I got a picture from you of a sausage swiper, and I knew
yes,
right away what it was. That's the
yes.
sausage swiper. Yes, there's what we're referring to are the 13 Yule lads, and so there's Grulia is like the Icelandic witch who lives in the mountains, and she is sort of the domain of like all of winter, and she has all kinds of like things that she'll do to punish you if you're not well behaved. But in those days of Christmas leading up to Christmas, she's got the 13 Yule lads and it's her sons, and they'll come out and they all do funny things like there's the potus liquor, which is the pot liquor.
Oh,
And
right.
he comes, all the things that children shouldn't do in all of the preparations for the holiday. That's my theory on it. But yes, they're I don't even remember all of them, but they're fabulous. All the Yule lads that come
I
in and they
remember. I
steal
just remember the
sausages.
yeah,
They slam doors. The door
the door
slammer is
slammer.
one.
I just
Um,
remember the sausage
the
swiper because
yogurt
it was so
is
weird.
because it's funny and weird. Oh,
Yeah.
there's the yogurt. The skier is like the skier eater. The yogurt, the person who comes because yogurt is a huge part of Icelandic culture. Having like your pot of yogurt that you keep going, you keep it fermenting, and then you eat this like delicious yogurt. And so if you come in and stick a finger in that, you kind of mess up the whole like probiotic relationship happening as the yogurt's being made.
That was a question on Carrie Lynn's show on Friday because she does 12 days of giving. I think it's her 8th or 9th year. And she gives away beautiful things. And one of the spots,
That's
I did it
nice.
with my co-host David last year with the winner. Somebody wins to come on her show for an hour, 2 hours. And
What a
she's
fun
doing,
thing.
yeah, well, she just does all kinds of things. So this year it was with the girls from Beyond the Haunting that I
I
mentioned.
love them. I love them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they were on there, and then a good friend of ours, usually Howie's here, but with the Riff Nation Network, Howie Odell, and he has a co-host, Rhonda Harris, and Carrie Lynn and I just adore her, and we've all been on their show before on a Sunday night, and she won. Okay, so what Carrie Lynn did too, on top of it for the audience, towards the end of the show, she did I think it was 12 or 13 questions, but she took them from our friend Jeff Belanger, who you
Oh,
know
yes.
better than me.
Yeah.
And one of the questions was, how many Yule lads? Was there
How
a
many Yule lads are there?
the mother's name? But the funny part was, I didn't realize, because at the beginning it was like, what country is Nessie from? And you got
Oh,
4,
yeah.
and it
Oh,
progressively got like
harder.
Perry Noel's counterpart, and I think he ended up being the cannibalistic butcher was the right answer or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she got all these questions from Jeff Belanger's book.
Oh yeah, The Right Before Christmas. We love that book. That's one of my favorite
I
books.
know, but I haven't seen it. But when she talked about it, she said she
Really?
always
I
thought it
have
was.
it right here.
Oh, you should pull it out if you can, because she said it looked like a red bookmark, but it's actually
It's a
Krampus's
forked
tongue.
tongue. Yeah.
Yes.
Hold on.
Sorry, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I haven't seen it. It sounded so cool.
I almost fell. Hold on.
Oh, careful, don't fall.
I'll show you the forked tongue.
There were some really good questions out of it. So
okay. We made it. We made it.
you made it?
It's this book. It's a beautiful book.
Oh, wow.
It's probably backwards. You guys are probably seeing it backwards.
I don't think so. I
but
mean, it's not that big for me.
And what I love, I mean, just to be like totally selfish, what I love this book. It's beautifully written. It's gorgeously designed. It's full of gorgeous colors. And but what I love is we have the same publisher. And so because Jeff got a ribbon, I get a ribbon.
Have you got a copy of your book?
I've got a ribbon and it's going to be green, but it's not going to be forked. So there's the forked.
Oh,
that's just forked ribbon.
So you don't have a copy yet. You just had a copy
of my book? No, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I think it's going to be an Aries. I hope it's an Aries.
I can't wait. It's going to be beautiful, you guys. So she's going to come back on when it's out, and she's going to carry it in.
That is a great book. It's full of like, and it's all about the creatures. So like any kind of like winter Yule monster. It's very, very beautifully done. Yeah.
Oh, so now Dell sent me all the Icelandic Yule lads, because that's what made me.
Dell's the one who got like, so I think that was the first time like he and I started talking about that a few years ago, where I came on and I had actually just been at something like at my son's school, and this little girl had a display on the Icelandic Yule lads, and I was like, you are 9 years old and you had a display on the Icelandic Yule lads, like let's talk. Like what? And so she had this like great presentation with like all of these funny things and funny stories, and it was written by like a 9-year-old, so it was like really, really approachable, right? Really charming. Yeah, that was great. And then so then I think Dell and I attempted to read the names out. You know what we really should do is get somebody who speaks Icelandic and then get them to
read out all the names,
say it properly. Yeah, because I'm just going on like, vague memories of how you might say something like, in Swedish or something like that.
I couldn't. I speak French and I still read and write Spanish, but I get French and Spanish. I used to speak them like English when I was 14. I've had no one to speak it with, but I still.
Yeah, you lose it if you don't practice it. Like for some reason, I learned Russian when I was a teenager.
I think that's interesting.
Ach da, конечно. I don't know why I learned Russian. I've never used it in my life, but I love that language.
Gotta be a reason.
Maybe I'm a spy. Who knows?
I was thinking, or a past life. That's what I picked at.
Oh, maybe. Yes.
Gotta be a reason.
Intriguing. I love it.
We'll have to delve into that one show. Now, Mitch added, because you had written down.
Okay.
Calthrop as well. Don't think it's Datura. Is that how she spelled it?
Yeah, that's right.
What I know of Datura, then she said 3-corner jacks and Calthrop are ground covers.
Ground covers.
With small yellow flowers, she says.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I shall research that further.
Yes. So there you go. So I wanted to add that, but I'm dying to know. Okay.
So back to, should we go back to Holly? Do you want to talk about Holly?
Whatever you want, because I'm going to ask you about the Yule lad. No, I got it on the brain. Log, but please.
Yule log. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We weren't done with Holly. So
okay. Well, so Holly, just adding to the mystique of Holly and how Holly was kind of around this time of year. Holly has a really, really strong association with fairies and fairy magic. Ooh. So Holly
that's why I like it better.
Yeah, that's why you love it. Holly is also toxic, just to throw that out there. But I want to probably just revisit that with mistletoe for a moment, if we could. Mistletoe is, as your friend pointed out, mistletoe is poisonous. But one thing we need to remember, and you as a nurse know this, the poisonous plants have the strongest medicine. That's why they're poisonous, because you're only supposed to use a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not advocating that people go out and start, consuming poisonous plants.
Mhm.
But poisonous plants kind of get a bad rap, right? They're powerful and they're strong. Case in point, mistletoe
Mhm.
actually has been studied for the last, probably longer than this, but formally, to my knowledge, since the mid 2000s, so
Mhm.
2013, 14, it has been studied as a cure for cancer.
I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
And specifically, the mistletoe that grows on the ash tree. So mistletoe is like a common name, right? There's the common
Right.
names. You call all kinds of things. It's got a bunch of other great common names like golden bough and devil's foog and all kinds of interesting things. But mistletoe is a common name for a plant that is in kind of a general plant family, but then there's like specific species of it. And the species that grows on ash trees,
Mhm.
which is hold on, its second part is fraxinus. So we'll just pull that up here because we need to know the proper name. Yes, so it's vis. What's the exact one? Visium fraxini is the exact
Oh, wow.
species that grows on ash trees. So there's
Okay.
Visium something else that grows on like oak trees, and it can grow on apple trees and all different kinds of trees. But Visium fraxini is the one that grows on an ash tree because fraxinus is actually the ash's botanical name. So that's where you get
Okay.
the connection. So
Interesting.
that specific one has been studied in Australia. There were the most innovative studies done, and also now in England. And they even have like this tincture that they made of, they called it like a fraxinus tincture that they were
Okay.
using to treat a tumor, of course, in like a rat or something.
Wow.
And it shrunk it. It shrunk it noticeably over a series of weeks.
Wow.
So they think actually very specifically that mistletoe has the cure for colon cancer.
Interesting.
So when you know a plant is poisonous, obviously exercise caution, but also exercise reverence because that plant is very likely going to save your life or save the life of someone that you love. It's very possible. And I think it's interesting because the Druids and the Celtic, in Celtic mythology, in Norse mythology, mistletoe is very sacred. And it was often associated with, because it grew on a tree that was associated with some of the like highest gods.
Mhm.
Zeus was that people thought that Zeus was a mighty oak, right? So
Right.
anytime you have a plant that's associated with that, it was actually treated with a great deal of reverence. So it's interesting. The ash tree is Yggdrasil in Norse mythology, the tree of life from which
Oh, okay.
all life sprouts. We've all seen the tree of life, the roots that go down and the branches that go up, and it's not generally covered with it's often depicted in its sort of wintertime state, its
Branch.
deciduous state when it's dropped all of the leaves. And you see the roots dropping down. It's believed that the roots of Yggdrasil actually wrap around sacred wells and pull sacred
Oh,
water up from the core of the earth that
wow.
has healing water. And I mean, like the tree of life is called such because it has a tremendous amount of healing properties. But because mistletoe grows on the tree, it's just interesting to me that the tree of life is actually holds a life-saving medicine in the mistletoe, which I think is just
I'm fascinated, like Julie
a
Jean
beautiful
Bassett
thing.
said, interesting. And the reason why is because you always hear, especially with the tree of life, as above, so below, and what have you. But I
Mhm.
never heard about possibly the roots being wrapped around,
Yeah.
like you said, these sacred wells. But what that made me think of, they're discovering the deeper they go into the earth or even into the oceans, they're finding lakes within oceans. I have
Mm.
seen that. But even if I'm thinking about it now, imagine, depending on where it is, you get ley lines and underground water. Imagine, I
Yeah.
picture them being
I
planted
know.
on those
It
areas.
becomes a very big,
Hmm.
small picture, right?
Hmm.
when you think of like the tree of life, I mean, people think of it metaphorically, they can think of it spiritually, but when you really think of how it goes from, deep into a tree that doesn't have its roots anchored deep enough falls over.
Yeah.
So if you're wrapped around like stones and aquifers, and these aquifers would produce water that was believed to produce immortality.
Right.
So, and then so that's the ash tree. Also, so the Yule log has. I mean, we're all kind of familiar with the like Yule log that goes flickering. You can put the Yule log on TV, but the Yule log was very important. It was the ultimate burning against the darkness, right? It was the ultimate like bonfire fire, but it was often within a small, like on Samhain, Halloween, we have a big old bonfire, right? Solstice, maybe we have a big bonfire, but more likely we're going to have a hearth fire. We're going to have something a little smaller, a little more intimate. And what we're really trying to do is bring in the good luck that is to come and burn away and ward off the evil. Well, ash itself has a bunch of medicinal properties that include antifungal, antibacterial.
I didn't know this.
It's. I have a list here for you actually, because I knew you as a nurse would want to know.
I totally am into anything. I always say to people, I don't give out medical advice, but if you ask me, coming from a big PHARMA, I have to be careful with that word on YouTube background.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
What's that?
I didn't know you had to like mind that word.
We're on their list, so you got to watch every word practically. But I was going to say though, I always, and I don't think I'm a doctor, but we haven't had a family doctor in 8 years. None of us in our house can't get one, and we're not unique. But the point is, I treat everybody at home, and the first thing I usually go to is something naturopathic or homeopathic or what have you.
Well, and as you well know as a nurse, that many of the plants that many of the medicines we use are derived directly from plants.
Absolutely.
And including, one of the taximafol, which is a huge thing that is used to treat women after they've gone through breast cancer, to help kind of like regulate.
Potvin. Yeah. I know what you're talking
that's from redwood trees.
I did not know that.
So let me tell you what the ash tree, just the medicinal properties. Okay, nearly all parts of this, I took this directly from my own book. Nearly all parts of this tree hold medicinal value. It is antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, anti-cancer, antifungal, antiviral, and antioxidant. It can treat topical wounds, infections, and bruisings, as well as gout, arthritis, general inflammation, edema, and urinary diseases.
And what plant is that?
That's the ash. That's the ash tree.
I didn't know this.
Isn't that remarkable? The tree of life. So it's antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, anti-cancer, antifungal, antiviral, and antioxidant. I mean, right? Like it has what else is there? There's a few other things, right? Congestion or something might come up. But just the fact that, and when I say this has been practiced for thousands of years in folk medicine. Thousands of years. Folk medicine throughout the world. Indigenous cultures throughout the world know these things. And I pulled these directly when I did the book. I pulled directly from current medical studies that were basically just trying to prove what the original people have been saying all along, right? But so when I cite these things, I'm not citing them because I'm just like, oh, these things are great. This has like some herbal value. No. I'm taking them directly from medical studies that have shown and have, they've been studying the like ethnopharmacology of these plants for a number of years, because we know that the plants hold the medicine. Doctors know this. Modern scientists know this. It's not a surprise. It's a matter of figuring out
money.
Well, there's money involved. And there's also something about You know how they say we have organs that we don't really need and you can live without? And technically, yeah, you can live without them, but we don't fully know what would happen if, like, what would happen if we didn't have them, right? We don't have like an extensive study on,
Mhm,
the immune system of people who have had their appendix removed
mhm.
versus, right? We don't really have all of that information yet. So with plants, sometimes you do have to be aware, like you can't just go chew on a leaf. It doesn't always do. Some plants are like everything about them.
But if you didn't have a pharmacy or a doctor, whatever,
And you were
most
in pain
people,
and you knew where
you
there was a
wouldn't just
willow
walk in and
tree,
grab a
you would
handful
go,
of pills. You wouldn't. You need somebody to guide you and to teach you, and as well as to be able to have the dosages.
yeah,
It's the same, I believe, with plant medicine.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely.
And
So then it's so that's just the ash tree, right? So that's, you can see why if you were to burn that, and then so magically speaking, right? If you're using ash, a lot of witches feel immunity to, or affinity, not immunity, affinity to ash trees because of all of the power that they have. It's such a healing plant because of its association with the tree of life. But also back to the roots that go in and surround the magical wells at the base of Yggdrasil. Ash is used in water magic frequently and is used to try and find wells, and it's also used to like purify wells. So yeah, amazing. And
wow.
you can burn it. It's commonly burned as a Yule log, and it will bring in prosperity and newness for the new year. But it also is something that is antiviral and
You're
anti.
reading my mind.
It's gonna get rid
Yeah.
of all the bad
Flu.
spirits too, right?
I
It's
was
gonna,
just
the
thinking, as soon as you
flu
said
and
that,
the
we're
evil
all
ghosts, and
indoors,
they're yeah.
no windows open,
Yeah.
right? So you
Yes, yes,
burn.
they're you're indoors, and of course now you're talking about a time when like your source of heat was literally a little fire pit
Mhm,
or a fireplace or something. So you don't open the door for a little fresh air. Like that doesn't happen, right? You don't you've
mhm.
got, it's cold, it's how you keep the house warm. And so anything that you burn in there, and this has been shown time and time again, white sage has antibacterial properties. So people say, "Oh, I'm going to sage to cleanse." What they don't understand is they're actually taking that plant's medicine and distributing it into the air, and it actually is cleansing the air. Even though you're making smoke, you are literally cleansing the air. White sage does that.
I
So,
believe,
yeah.
though, honestly, Varla, that's why I was so excited when you told me when you were writing this book, when you were planning of writing this book, is my belief is because you find in certain areas of the world, we have certain illnesses too. But when you start looking into plant medicine or the magic of plants, the legend, the lore, the energetics behind it, the whole bit, usually there is something provided regardless of what somebody's belief is. Could be the goddess, could be God, could be Allah, could be anybody you believe
Yeah.
who is the universe. It's provided for within the environment, I find. And then it's been
Yes.
demonized that no, this is off. Like think about the lowly, and I'm saying this facetiously,
Of course.
dandelion.
Oh, the dandelion that will cure your liver. The
Mhm,
thing that nobody wants in their like pristine suburban lawns.
mhm,
And yet it's the thing they probably need more than anything. You
mhm.
probably need a liver detox, my friend.
I
If you got
do.
that many
I do.
dandelions.
I
Yeah.
do.
So I think that is absolutely true. And one thing I was taught by an herbalist at a very, very young age was that nature provides the antidote to anything that it all, like there's the antidote usually grows within feet
Mhm.
of the poison.
Yeah, always.
So,
Always.
but
Julie just
you
said,
have
I
to
love
know.
plant medicine. I wish I knew more about it. And guess what, Julie? You can, because Farley's
Buy
book's
my
coming
book.
out. The beauty in Farley's books, too, because I have read some. She was kind enough to send me a few of hers. The one on the fairies, and I'm trying to remember the other one. I think it was on the
Was it
vampires.
Paranormal
It
Parlor?
was
It's probably
paranormal. I was
Paranormal
just
Parlor.
going to say it was Paranormal Parlor.
Yeah.
And I love, like, especially the fairy one. I love them all, but you really, you weren't just sitting there writing paragraphs about research. You went into the tale and the story, and it was all so beautifully interwoven. And it sounds like this is what's going to happen with the
Yeah, so the book itself is built around it's built around, okay, so I love plant books, and I love all kinds of plant books. I love botany books, I love herbal books, I love plant magic books. This book is built around the types of gardens that you might encounter in fairy tales. So you start out in the queen's garden, and then you go to like the kitchen garden, and then you go to the witch's garden, and then you go beyond the castle walls and the gates, and you go out into the wild. And so and then you end up eventually at the sea. And so the plants are grouped by that. Now I had to I cannot tell you how many words I cut from that book, because
now you're going to write a second, like a part 2.
So like the plants, what happened is every plant has a story. That's just how plants are. Every plant has a story. Every plant has lore. Every plant has a backstory. What I was trying to do, that I hope is a little bit different than some of the other books that I have on my shelf that I already love, was find the plants where the story could not exist without them. So there was a fairy tale or a story strongly associated with that plant, and that story would not be the same story if that plant were removed from it. Even though today often the plant has been removed, the origin comes from that. So that left a lot of things on the cutting room floor, because the plants, the story being the strong part of that. So there's magic and there's medicine, and I talk about like the general lore, but then each plant has at least one very strong story associated with it. Either I have excerpted from it, but most of them I actually rewrote and retold. And that includes everything from like apple. You'd be amazed how many stories there are about cabbages, magical cabbages.
Said that, and I can't even think of one, because when you said cabbages, like Jack and the Beanstalk, like what would you do without Jack and the Beanstalk and the magic beans? That's
yes, exactly. Beanstalk. If you didn't have remove the beans from that story, it's a great example. Remove the beans from that story, and it's not the same story.
No, you got nothing.
It's just not the same story at all. And my favorite one is Rapunzel.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not Yule related, but it's plant related. So Rapunzel is actually the German word for a plant called rampion. Rampion is a green, a leafy green that you eat. And this totally freaked me out, because I actually felt I remembered that Rapunzel is built around this woman craving a plant. And she sends her husband, she's pregnant, and she sends her husband over into the witch's garden to get this plant for her. So I remembered that. And that plant is called rampion.
Okay.
Most of us have kind of forgotten that, because we think of Rapunzel, we think of her long tresses, and we think of her locked up in her hair, right? We think of her locked up in the tower and letting her hair down. Also, I found a version that said, let down your hair, and she didn't drop her braid. She let her hair out of the braids, and he climbed up the giant tendrils of all of her hair, which was even better, I thought. Anyway, the German word for rampion is Rapunzel.
I didn't know that.
And I learned it last summer when I was writing the book. I didn't know that either. I knew rampion meant something, but I did not understand. So I found an old version of a Grimm's fairy tale, and the introduction referred to Rapunzel, and it described it. And it was describing rampion. I knew it was describing rampion. It had these tiny little blue flower. I knew immediately. And I had to have this whole thing with like the publisher. I was like, this is Rapunzel lowercase, not talking about the character Rapunzel, but that entire story would not exist had it not been for that plant. So,
Would you believe we're out of time?
my God, oh my God, buy my book.
It
You can
goes
learn
like
more.
way too quick because everybody's getting into the plant stuff. But guess what, guys? Like I said, I have Varla on usually for at least 4 times a year with the change
Yes.
of the season because she has such a wealth of knowledge. So we're hoping to get her on in April sometime, right? When your book comes
Yes,
out.
yes, yes.
So how
After
do
the
they
book
get a
comes
hold of
out,
you? Buy your books, buy
yeah.
everything, everything.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so varlaventura.net. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. It's all under Varla Ventura. Um, I post stuff about plants on there all the time. So,
You have
um,
so much knowledge about anything, though, within the paranormal, the magical realm, the strange, the unusual. I know you're focusing on the plants because the book is
yeah,
coming
so
out
the
too.
book's coming out, but I have other books, absolutely.
Mhm,
And actually, the fairies, pukas, and changelings. There's a
mhm.
little bit of Christmas
I
lore in
love
there as
those.
well,
Yes.
but it's just a lovely. I really enjoyed writing that book. I actually took the same approach with the plant book that I took with that fairy book, which
Oh,
was to look at it as a kingdom
mhm,
with different classifications and where you might find those fairies. That's what William Butler Yeats did.
mhm.
Trooping fairies, the
I love
forest fairies, the sea fairies. So yeah, and then I have Paranormal Parlor that's all full of like, spooky stories and cool things.
it. It
And
is. Yeah.
yeah, just you can just I mean, there's no other Varla Ventura in the world. So
Have you
you can.
got anything else coming up? Have you resumed you were doing your pre-recorded, I think you were thinking of
Oh
season.
yeah, so I have Midnight Stories, which I have yet to release any additional ones because I'm terrible with the tech end of that.
Yeah.
But I am appearing at the Botanica Obscura conference, which is a wonderful conference. If people are interested in plants, look this up right now. It's called Botanica Obscura, and it's a virtual conference. It happens virtual, but it's also live. People present live, and it's the first. I think it's the first weekend of March, March 7th, 8th, and
Ooh.
9th. And there's an incredible array of deep plant knowledge. It's put on by Kobe Michael, and then I've
Ooh.
forgotten the other person's name. It's terrible of me, but she is amazing also. And they're like poison plant people, and I'm presenting on the poison apple. So I'm presenting on
Ooh.
March 7th, the evening of March 7th. I got a nighttime slot, so I was happy about that.
That's
But that
awesome.
you can buy tickets now, and your ticket is good for like you can buy a single day ticket if you just want to attend a few things, or you can buy a full weekend, and it is like deep plant knowledge. Like these are
Oh,
the like
awesome.
most amazing occult plant nerds in the world are appearing at this thing. I know.
Oh.
I feel I'm so honored to be
And then
included.
you're gonna come
And
back
I'll
on
come
it.
back. See
Mhm.
you. See you in April. Yeah.
Can't wait. I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad you were here. You
I'm
guys,
so
if you're
grateful for you. Thank you.
oh, I know it always flies by when you're on it. I look forward to every guest, but I know it's gonna be a really easy show because you know what, when you have someone that you don't know and whatever, and we never really plan too much, it's just wherever the conversation goes, and there's always
I know.
lots.
Lord help us when we get in the same room together.
Oh my god.
It's
You
gonna be
guys, if you're
beautiful.
enjoying if you're enjoying what you're seeing, stay tuned because the Light Gate's coming up next with Dolly Saffron and with Preston Dennett. And if you guys ever want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/the Angel Rock. In the new year, I am planning for March. I am finally going to start teaching my first course. So
Oh
when I
yes.
do, yes,
So
finally, I have
excited to
the
hear
whole
that. Yeah.
outline. I am just trying to get everything all under one roof. So I'm hoping to go to a domain name and have the rest and somehow fit in there somehow, some way. I'm going to figure it out because the course outline is written. I just need to
You
put in
got
some
this.
articles and what have you. So that is coming. But if you ever need to get a hold of me quickly, fastest is usually Facebook Messenger, but I am on every single social media platform you can possibly think of, either under Lorilei Potvin or the Angel Rock. I do psychic mediumship. I also do Akashic Records. I do crystal Reiki, which actually works with your chakras, balancing them, and your aura or body energy, if you will, field. So that works with that. I do teaching, I do mentoring. I have 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, the Angel Rocker Tribe for more things spiritual. So like I said, the fastest, easiest way, social media, or you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/Angel Rock. Don't forget, we'll be back. Yes, David and I are doing a Boxing Day show. I know Boxing Day isn't big everywhere in the world. It is here in Canada. So we'll be back on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm looking forward to that. Next week, you guys get little old me. I didn't book anybody. It's the day before New Year's. And I love when I get just to hang out with all of you. So that's what we're doing with the Angel Rock next week. Everybody's loving you. They're all saying Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, you
Thank
guys.
you. Happy holidays. And thank you so much for
Well,
having
hang
me.
tight, you guys. So stay tuned. We'll be back Thursday. We love you all. Have a wonderful, safe, happy holiday season. Merry Christmas or whatever you may celebrate. Okay, everybody, much love. And we'll talk to you on Thursday.